Happy 14th anniversary, Mavs fans. On June 12th, 2011, the Mavericks planted the flag in Miami and hoisted the only Larry O'Brien trophy in the franchise's history. There's Jason Kidd right there holding the NBA title, and what a night that was, and hopefully we can get back to that soon here in Dallas Mavericks land. You have Rick Carlisle there, who's currently up 2-1 in the NBA Finals as well. What a scene that was, and the franchise has changed quite a bit, not only in the last 6 months, but in the last 14 years. So shout out to the 2011 team, man. Can't wait to see the Mavericks lift the title again, and hopefully we can have a long and prosperous parade here in Dallas. If you want the Mavs to win the title next year, spam those MFFLs down in the comment section. I really need a title back here in Dallas with the Mavs, and maybe Cooper Flagg is the guy to bring that to us. Today's show, though, is mainly going to be about Kyrie Irving, who is in a bit of a predicament here. Predicament's the wrong word. Kyrie will be back with the Mavericks next season. It's just a matter of how he will be back with the Mavericks. Both sides want to, pursue a reunion, and both sides would ultimately like Kyrie to be with the Mavericks next year. All signs point to him returning, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. It's just the method in which it happens. I think the options for Kyrie are as follows. Number one, he could opt in and just play next year out and revisit free agency in the summer of 2026. However, I really don't think that's what Kyrie wants to do. That's why I think either he's going to opt into this season and extend his contract, or he's going to opt out and just re-sign with the Mavericks on a brand new deal. I think those two are by far the more likely options that would happen with Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie, like I've mentioned over every time I talk about him, he's been an absolute model citizen with the Dallas Mavericks in just 2.5 years in Dallas. He's regarded as the team leader, the vocal presence in the locker room, the guy that's keeping everyone in line. And that's just not something I saw from Kyrie when the Mavericks were traded Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie and a first-round pick to the Brooklyn Nets in exchange for Irving. Now, what will be interesting is how exactly the Mavericks get this deal done. The framework of the deal will be something to keep in mind here. Now, reports before Kyrie ended up tearing his ACL was that this deal was going to look somewhere around 3 years and $120 million, which, if you remember, that's basically exactly what he signed in the summer of 2023 when he re-upped with the Mavericks after that half season after the trade. And I still kind of think that might be in play. There are two things to keep in mind here, though, with Kyrie's contract. Number one, the Luka trade absolutely gave Kyrie more leverage in negotiations because now he is the only proven guard on this roster that has a track record of excellence here in the NBA. So if he really wanted to, and I don't think this is going to end up happening, but if he really did want to, Kyrie could hold out for that 5-year, $213 million max that he could command in free agency. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that'll end up being the case. But if Kyrie wanted to be the bad guy, so to speak, he could hold out for that, and the Mavericks would basically have no choice but to give it to him. And I wouldn't blame Kyrie if that's what he ended up wanting. But also, the torn ACL certainly does throw a wrench into negotiations with Kyrie because he's not going to be ready until January at the earliest. My prediction is he doesn't play a game until after the All-Star break, especially if the Mavericks are afloat and in the playoff race. I think they'll wait until post-All-Star break to get Kyrie ramped back up and going. That definitely throws a wrench into negotiations, and it could help the Mavericks out a little bit in terms of the amount of guaranteed money they want to give Kyrie. The other thing that is going to significantly help the Dallas Mavericks is the Brooklyn Nets are the only team in the NBA right now with ample cap space to pay anybody. And it doesn't seem like Kyrie Irving is going to be the guy that they would pay, especially given how things ended with Kyrie and the Nets at the end of that 23 season where it was an absolute disaster. You had the whole vaccination thing. You had him being suspended for other stuff. And I just don't think the Brooklyn Nets or Kyrie want anything to do with each other. So that leaves only one option, the Dallas Mavericks for Kyrie Irving. So he will be back here in Dallas next season. The only question is, what kind of contract will he have? I want to ask you guys what kind of contract you would give Kyrie Irving down in the comment section. Would you give him that 5-year max? Would you give him a 3-year deal? Would it be a 1-year deal? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Be the GM for me. What contract would you give Kyrie? And if you love Kyrie like I do, go and get yourself a Kyrie Irving jersey today. When you head to chatsports.com/Kyrie, we have all sorts of Kyrie Irving jerseys available. You can get it in that blue. You can get the authentic version. You can get the white. You can get the royal blue. All Kyrie Irving sizes and uniforms available, courtesy of our friends at Fanatics. Go to chatsports.com/Kyrie. That link will be in the comments and the description of today's show today. Shout out Fanatics for sponsoring this episode of Mavericks Today. So my take on the whole Kyrie Irving contract situation is I kind of think it's going to end up in the same place that negotiations were sort of beginning. It's going to be somewhere around that 3-year, $120 million contract range. Maybe Kyrie gets a player option in that third season. Maybe the Mavericks get a team option in that third season. But all in all, I do think that's where the contract is going to end up being. And I don't think the torn ACL is going to play a huge part in Kyrie's value going down to the Mavericks. Like I said, his value went up to the Mavericks when they traded away Luka. And Kyrie knows that. And I think the value the Mavericks see in Kyrie is vice versa. I think Kyrie sees the value in the Mavericks as well. His stats with the Mavericks have been absolutely fantastic over 2.5 years, averaging 25.5 points, shooting 49% from the field and 40% plus from 3, averaging 5 assists as well. And now that he's going to be the true point guard, the guy who's going to be running the show when he comes back, I expect that assist number to go up. Maybe he'll average 7.5 or 8 assists. And I do think that this is sort of a marriage made in heaven. Kyrie's had a long-standing relationship with Jason Kidd. He's had a long-standing relationship with Nico Harrison, and he doesn't want to be anywhere else. The Mavericks don't want him to be anywhere else, and that's going to end up being the case, and Kyrie will be a Maverick for at least the next couple of seasons. Now, the question is, in the interim, what are the Mavericks going to do? And we'll talk about that here in just a few moments. But please, before we do that, hit that subscribe button for us. It's youtube.com/MavsTV. We've got the latest on Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, Cooper Flag, and more. Videos almost every day here on the channel. We're going to be covering the NBA draft extensively, NBA free agency extensively. If the Mavericks make a trade, you'll hear about it right here on the channel. That's why you hit that subscribe button for the best Mavericks coverage here on YouTube. Okay, let's talk about the options that the Mavericks could have in the interim when it comes to the point guard position. There are a few names out there that I think could be potential options for the Mavs once the 25-26 NBA season gets rolling. We'll start with Brandon Williams, who I think is the most obvious choice, as Williams had a fantastic last 16 games with the Mavericks. He averaged almost over 15 points. These are his season stats, but he basically doubled his stat output once the Luka trade happened and once Kyrie tore his ACL. He was the starting point guard for the majority of the season. After his two-way contract, he exhausted his two-way contract, and then the Mavericks re-signed him to a standard NBA deal. He was fantastic, and if I had to guess right now, I think he would be the guy. You could also point to Dante Exum, who is going to be a free agent, but the Mavericks and Exum do have mutual interest in a reunion as well. That has been reported out there. I like Dante. I'm just not sure he's a starting point guard that you're going to rely on to play 30-plus minutes a night. I think he's a really good point-of-attack defender. He's been an excellent three-point shooter in his 2 seasons in Dallas as well. He also has a bunch of injury issues, mostly regarding that wrist that he's broken multiple times and has had surgery on. So while I do think Dante is an option, I'm not sure he's the best option to start. Chris Paul has been talked about as far as a potential signing for the Mavericks in NBA free agency. I think Chris Paul would be a fantastic addition if he played 25 to 28 minutes a night. He'd be another leader in the locker room, a voice of reason, a guy who could run the show the way Jason Kidd wants him to run it. He's not going to turn the ball over, and he's going to set up guys to get open looks. He'll set up Klay Thompson. He'll set up Cooper Flag. He'll set up PJ Washington if he's still here. He can run the pick and roll with Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. So if they could end up getting Chris Paul for that taxpayer mid-level, I think that would be a really good option for the Mavericks. Now, the only problem would be Chris Paul and Klay Thompson would be an absolute disaster of a defensive backcourt, but that's neither here nor there. Nico says defense wins championships, so if they sign Chris Paul, maybe he'll be contradicting himself a little bit on that one. But because defense wins championships, that's why I think Ben Simmons could be an option for the Mavericks, the former LSU Tiger, longtime Philadelphia 76er. Simmons is still one of the best defensive guards in the NBA, and he can still make a little bit there. In his limited time with the Los Angeles Clippers, he averaged over 5 assists a night. And while he's a 7-foot point guard, but you can really play him kind of wherever in the lineup, but he can still end up handling the ball. He can defend literally whoever you want on the court. So I could see the Mavericks having interest in Ben Simmons, if I'm being honest. And if you're picking between Paul or Simmons, I think the Mavericks might go Ben Simmons over Chris Paul, which would be absolutely crazy. Malcolm Brogdon could be another option. He's dealt with some injury issues as well, but he averaged 12.7 points last year, shot it well from the field. Not great from the field, but shot it well from three. He's kind of morphed himself into a better playmaker than he was earlier in his career. He's the best scorer of the bunch, so if that's what the Mavs are kind of looking for in their Kyrie replacement for the first half of the season, maybe they go in the Malcolm Brogdon route, but it remains to be seen. Those are just 5 names. I'm sure there are more out there that the Mavericks could explore via trade as well. You could look at like Lonzo Ball or Kobe White, those kind of stuff, and we'll talk we will talk about all of that here in the coming days and weeks. I can't talk today. Who should be the opening night starting point guard for the Dallas Mavericks? Let me know down in the comment section. If it's someone that I named, go ahead and type that. If it's someone I didn't mention, type that as well down there below. Just a quick little note here. The Mavericks are going to play the Pistons in Mexico City on November 1st. This will be the second time the Mavericks have played in Mexico City in recent years. It was either Luka's rookie year or his second year that the Mavs played. I believe it was the Clippers it was the Clippers in Mexico City where him and Blake Griffin had that cool little moment before the game where Luka was talking in fluent Spanish. So the Mavs and Clippers going to play in an international game in Mexico City on November 1st. So keep that one in mind. That will do it for today's show, guys. Appreciate you for tuning in to Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. My name is Jeffrey Cooperstein. Of course, if anything happens, we will keep you up to date right here on the channel. So hit that sub button, and we'll see you guys soon.